Axel Ruda Kubana, who is 18, pleaded guilty at Liverpool Crown Court to murdering 3 young girls. The British man accused of the Southport attack, in which 3 young girls were stabbed to death, has changed his plea on the first day of his trial, pleading guilty to all charges. He also pleaded guilty to the attempted murder of 8 other children and to the attempted murder of Leanne Lucas and Jonathan Hayes.
52 years. That's the minimum sentence for Axel Ruda Kubana, the Southport child killer who brutally murdered 3 young girls. But is it enough? The Attorney General's decision not to appeal for a harsher sentence has left many questioning our justice system. In a shocking twist, we've uncovered the legal loophole that's preventing Kubana from facing a whole life order. This isn't just about one case, it's exposing a fundamental flaw in how we sentence young killers. Stay tuned as we unravel the controversy that's igniting calls for major reform. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. In a shocking turn of events, the Southport killer case has exposed a gaping hole in our justice system. Axel Ruda Kubana, the teenage monster who brutally murdered 3 innocent young girls, has managed to escape a whole life sentence. How? Through a legal loophole that's left many scratching their heads and wondering if our laws are truly serving justice. The crux of the matter lies in a peculiar quirk of UK law.
We have to be very, very careful about the suspect, the defendant, who has been charged now with the murders of 3 kids and attacking kids. The Prime Minister, the Home Secretary, and indeed the police knew that there was a terror-related aspect to Axel Ruda Kubana.
Well, I think the timing was very carefully engineered. I think my own sense is that Keir Starmer and the Home Secretary knew perfectly well about these extra details.
Whole life orders, the harshest sentences available in our legal arsenal, are typically reserved for offenders aged 21 and over. In rare cases, they can be handed down to those between 18 and 20. But for killers under 18, they're completely off the table. It's a technicality that's allowed Kubana to dodge the full force of the law, despite the horrific nature of his crimes. This revelation has sent shockwaves through the community. How can a system designed to protect us leave such a glaring gap? The contrast between the severity of Kubana's actions and the limitations of our sentencing options is stark. It's a discrepancy that's left many questioning the very foundations of our justice system. The public reaction has been one of disbelief and outrage. Social media has been ablaze with comments from people struggling to reconcile the brutality of the crimes with the seemingly lenient sentence. Trust in the justice system, already on shaky ground, has taken another hit. People are asking, if the law can't adequately punish such heinous acts, what hope do we have for justice? Experts have weighed in on the rationale behind these age-based restrictions. Some argue that they reflect a belief in rehabilitation and the unique circumstances of youth. Others question whether such considerations should apply in cases of extreme violence. The debate rages on, with no clear consensus in sight. But the tide may be turning. In the wake of this case, there's been a growing chorus of voices calling for reform. Political figures from across the spectrum are speaking out. Conservative leader KY Baddock and Shadow Home Secretary Chris Phil have both suggested that there's a strong case for allowing whole life orders for under 18s in exceptional circumstances.
Inside Number 10 set out precisely why, in his experience, Sir Keir Starmer would have known about this perhaps within hours.
You know, in the House of Commons, you have legal privilege. Why did the Speaker of the House, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, Labour, why did he tell MPs that they mustn't discuss this?
And I took that to be very, very credible information. And it was extraordinary at Prime Minister's questions today to see the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, effectively shutting MPs down.
It's a rare moment of bipartisan agreement that underscores the urgency of the issue. The Attorney General's decision not to appeal Kubana's sentence has only added fuel to the fire. Despite the 52-year minimum term being the longest ever handed to someone of Kubana's age, many feel it falls short of true justice. The community is left grappling with a sense of unfinished business, a feeling that the system has failed them. The Attorney General's decision not to appeal Kubana's sentence has set off a political firestorm in Westminster. As the dust settles, a battle is brewing that could reshape the very foundations of our justice system. But who's leading the charge and what's really at stake? At the forefront of this crusade for change are some unlikely allies. Conservative leader Keir Baddock and Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp have found themselves on the same side of the debate, both suggesting that whole life orders should be on the table for under 18s in exceptional cases. It's a rare moment of cross-party agreement that speaks volumes about the public mood. But it's not just the opposition making waves. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, perhaps feeling the heat from all sides, has weighed in on the matter. In a statement that's raised more than a few eyebrows, Starmer described Ruda Kubana as a vile offender who will likely never see the light of day again.
The events today are just truly awful, and I know the whole country is deeply shocked at what they've seen and what they've heard. I do want to thank the emergency services of Merseyside Police who've had to respond to the most difficult of circumstances today. But I do also think about the emergency responders because they have responded to an awful incident today, and I want to thank them for the professionalism that they have shown in doing so.
It's strong language from a man who's built his career on measured responses and legal precision. Is this a genuine reflection of his views, or is Starmer simply trying to get ahead of the public outcry? Speaking of public outcry, it's impossible to ignore the role that victims' advocacy groups are playing in this unfolding drama. These organisations, fuelled by the raw emotions of those directly affected by violent crime, are pushing hard for stricter sentencing laws for young offenders. Their voices are growing louder by the day, and politicians are starting to take notice. But not everyone's on board with this push for change. Some legal experts and veteran lawmakers are urging caution, warning that rushing to alter sentencing laws could have unintended consequences. They argue that hasty reforms might actually increase recidivism rates or create new challenges in rehabilitating young offenders. It's a sobering reminder that even well-intentioned changes can sometimes do more harm than good. At the heart of this debate lies a fundamental question. How do we balance justice, rehabilitation, and public safety when dealing with underage killers? It's a complex issue that defies easy answers. On one hand, there's a natural desire to see horrific crimes met with equally severe punishments. But on the other, there's the recognition that young offenders may have greater potential for rehabilitation and change. The Kubana case has become a lightning rod for these discussions, forcing lawmakers to grapple with the implications of potential changes. Should we maintain a system that treats young offenders differently? Or is it time to acknowledge that some crimes are so heinous that age shouldn't be a factor in sentencing? The Southport tragedy has laid bare a glaring flaw in our justice system, forcing us to confront the harsh realities of youth crime and the limitations of our current legal framework. As the nation grapples with the aftermath of this horrific case, a disturbing trend emerges. Youth violent crime rates in the UK are on the rise, adding fuel to the fire of those calling for legislative change. But here's the rub. Despite the severity of crimes committed by some young offenders, the law still restricts whole life orders to those 21 and over, with only rare exceptions for 18 to 20-year-olds. This age-based distinction has become a lightning rod for controversy, with victims' families and MPs demanding a complete overhaul of the system. As pressure mounts for reform, the coming months may well determine whether cases like this become catalysts for change or remain painful reminders of a system's shortcomings. The battle for justice rages on, but one question lingers. Will any amount of legal reform be enough to heal the deep wounds inflicted on a community forever changed by such unthinkable violence?